My name's Calvin Waite, and I trade Bitcoin and cryptocurrency for a living. This morning we closed our weekly candle on Bitcoin, and I just wanted to point out a couple of things that happened a couple of weeks ago. You can see that these really long tails on these two red candles here, what happened was that we had this open, we had a lot of selling pressure, and then we reversed course and pulled all the way back up near the open. And then we did the same thing, except for there was less selling pressure, and we pulled back. So even though we had two red candles in a row, these two red candles were actually bullish. And so you can see that this past week, there was less selling pressure, and the top side broke open. So our highest trade prices for the past 3 weeks was declining, but because we had so much support and so much buying pressure, even during these red candles, we were able to establish a new high. So if I head over to daily, you can see that I had a while ago I showed you all this declining resistance. Is what I was trying to say. And so we had this resistance here. We had lower resistance, and our bottom line support was a couple of months old, like 5 or 6 months old. And I said, whenever we break this, we're going to definitely be rewarded. And I said that it would be most likely to the upside since we had so much support. Well, this is still paying off. I also mentioned, though, that the distance between here and here is generally the distance between here and our breakout. So you can tell that we're a little steeper than we were here, but this is all good. We tried to sell off a little bit today, and now we're showing a little bit more strength. So we are above all of our averages. We are definitely in the white zone, and when the angle of this line here, this 50-day moving average, angles upward, we will be back into a green zone. We love going from yellow to white to green. This gives us an indication of another solid run. So things are looking really good for Bitcoin. I would expect the green zone to start tomorrow or the next day, but I'll give you an update when we get there. So since we're sitting at around 11,500, we are just about to experience this situation. We are, when we get across 12,500, we're going to be sitting just like these fine gentlemen in this boat, and we're going to be making this winning smile right here. It's going to be awesome. We just need to cross 12,500, and we are going to be enjoying life. So I want to ask a question. Which is more important, the body of the candle or the wicks of the candle? So this is something I want to teach you guys. When it comes to looking at candles and their behaviors, the body of the candle is the most important in determining trend. The wicks, this gives us, it adds color to the trend. So I'm using Litecoin on the daily here. And if you look at this, you can see very clearly that if you only look at the bodies, you are seeing this increasing trend up to here, and then the bodies show you that we are now decreasing down here. And on the other side, we show this run here, but you can see using just the bodies, you can see the increases and the decreases. If you were to look at wicks, just the lines out, you would look at this and you would say, oh my goodness, we are selling off. That's not at all what this chart is actually showing. You can see that the momentum follows the bodies, and that the wicks are telling you about investor sentiment. So at some point during the day, during this candle, investors brought it back up to the open, and then it sold off. Also, at the same point during the day, we sold off below, down to a support down here, and then we returned. But the net gain and net loss on the candle was a break even. So these giant wicks show that there's a lot of indecision in the market, but you can also see that just by looking at the body. You can tell that there is support in the market. You can tell that there is resistance in the market. When you go to another candle here, you can see that there was a huge amount of selling pressure, but because it never actualized. So if the body had closed down here, this would be a completely different looking chart. The body's up here and then closing a body down here, it would have been extremely bearish. If we'd have had a nice long wick up top and then this solid body, this would have showed so much selling pressure, and the body closing down here is sort of the nail in the coffin. Bodies hold more weight. The wicks give you an idea of what the investors are thinking. So you can see that whenever you get a long tail somewhere, it shows you that there at some point during this day there was some enthusiasm, but it melted off. And then a body closing down here is a very, very strong move. So when you're looking at trading, and you'll notice that whenever I'm drawing trend lines, I ignore the wicks at the beginning. So I will connect as many bodies as I can up front. So I'll capture bodies, and then the wicks will tell the story. So that, yeah, this was our trend line, but it wicked through, couldn't hold. Wicked through, wicked through, wicked through, but couldn't hold. So when I'm drawing trend lines, most often I'm connecting bodies because that is where the true action, price action lies. These wicks are showing that they've toyed with the line, they attempted the line, but they could not overcome the line. So I hope that helps you guys with your trading. When you're trending out these things, I'm looking at bodies, because if the body closes below the 50, or if the body crosses a certain trend line and closes, then investors have nailed in the coffin that this is in a completed candle and we still show bullish, or this is a completed candle and we still show bearish, and no one can go back and refute that, because that close it's history now. It's a part of the candle. Wicks can also tell you something about how thin the order book is. So when you find a coin like this is Hive back to dollars, you can see how there's a lot of really hairy wicks. So this chart has this, you can see generally the idea of where the sentiment is, but you have these wicks just everywhere. It's not tight at all. There's always something going on. So what does this tell me? Just by looking at this chart, I can tell that the spreads are wide and that there's not a lot of liquidity in this market. When somebody buys or sells, the market is here. It couldn't support a sell, and then the next minute there was another buy, and we're all the way back up here. So when you get these really long, hairy looking charts, it teaches you a little bit about how thin the market is, and it also makes it harder to trust the bodies, because the gap between the buy and the sell could be very, very large. So The chart can tell you a lot just by how frequent you see these wicks down and how tight it is. So if I go back up to Bitcoin, you can see how tight this is. Most of the price action is contained in the bodies. When there's a wick, it means that there was a struggle. There's struggle to sell. There's a struggle to sell, struggle to sell. There's all of this support down here. So you can see that it's telling a story right here, and all of the meat is packaged into the bodies of the candles. So hope you learned something today. The coin that I wanted to point out today is Ethereum. We are seeing some really good moves in Ethereum. Not long ago, I kind of was joking about this being the craziest sort of head and shoulders pattern. We've got two shoulders on either side. We got some kind of a monster. But what I was pointing out was that we had resistance here, and then we found support here. So we established this as an important line way back here, and we confirmed support here, confirmed support here. Didn't quite touch it, but then we finally touched it again. If we touch the same level of support many times in a row, that usually is bad because we are weakening it every time we touch it. And along with that, we also had less strength to the upside. So we were having these lower highs that were happening consecutively as we were retesting the same line. So this was an obvious loss of momentum. So I was actually looking at this as a pretty significant move to the downside. I was thinking target maybe around here somewhere. But I obviously don't short anything, not in crypto. They're too volatile to short. The math just doesn't make sense, because when something can double in a day, you can be out of your entire position with, you can use up your entire upside in downside in a matter of 24 hours. So I never short anything in crypto. But this was the move that was intriguing. We had this drop below the line, which should have been significant, especially a close below this line. This would have started our sell-off. But what did we do the next day? We did exactly the opposite and showed so much strength that I figured that this line was essentially discounted. This is not going to reflect a sell-off to here, and it was because of this move and show of strength right after. What it did make me think is that we are doing a different pattern here. So if I take this, we can probably go through here. So we have this declining support here, and touching it here, getting rejected a few times, and here is where we crossed. But if I draw the rest of it, this was what I'm seeing. That rather than it being a kind of a head and shoulders pattern with a significant downside, it looks a little bit more like a bullish pennant. And I said, watch this, because these are the lines that we need to watch for breakouts. And now that we've broken outside of this, I actually think that Ethereum is looking more bullish than ever. This is the right reaction to this price action right here. And a little bit of confirmation to help us with that is that here we have this nice breakout, and then we also have sort of a retest. We have this increasing 100-day moving average that we have essentially found support here and would not allow a close below for 2 days here. And now we've confirmed support by rising up off of it here. So there's a couple of solid bullish things that are happening. Well, look at today's price action. We are about to establish a higher high for the first time since September 1st. So we've got a month, a little over a month of this declining situation, and now we are about to put in the books Of course, we have 4 hours, so the things can change, but it's looking very strong right now. And you know how Ethereum works. People kind of ignore it, especially in the news, until something exciting is happening, and then we get a lot more power. So we have support here, higher support here. We're retesting the same resistance. This is a positive sign. When the news finally catches it, it'll be because we've broken up into this area and we're showing significant confirmation and signs of a nice rally. So this represents a pretty beautiful entry point if you're trading Ethereum. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. It's looking pretty nice, and so I hope that helps you guys out when you're looking at Ethereum and what we may be in for here. Hey, thanks for hanging on till the end of the video. If you liked anything I said, please support the channel by subscribing. If not, feel free to leave a comment and I'd be happy to take a look and make improvements to the channel so it'll be better next time.